The night is still. Outside, a street lamp hums softly, spilling pale orange light across a quiet suburban street. Inside a small bedroom, a man lies awake, staring at the ceiling fan spinning in slow circles. He's 53 years old. The world around him says he should be slowing down, but what he feels isn't just tiredness, it's something deeper, a hollow kind of exhaustion that no amount of sleep seems to fix. He glances at the clock. 2:37 a.m. His wife's steady breathing fills the dark, rhythmic and calm, but he feels restless, as though his body has forgotten something it used to know. Once, mornings used to come with an unspoken confidence. He'd wake up strong, his energy alive before his mind even had time to think. It wasn't just physical, it was symbolic, a sign that his body was still his ally, that, deep inside, the fire still burned. But lately, the mornings have been quiet, too quiet. He turns over, sighing. The thought hits like a whisper. What's happening to me? The unspoken struggle. Men don't often talk about it. They'll talk about politics, sports, business, even the weather. But this sits in the shadows, that slow, creeping loss of vitality, the kind you can feel but can't describe. It begins small. One night, you're too tired for intimacy. You tell yourself, I'll feel better tomorrow. Then it happens again, and again. Weeks turn into months, and somewhere along the line, you stop expecting to feel strong. Doctors might call it age-related decline, but to the man lying awake, it feels like betrayal. Betrayal by his own body. The truth is, this story isn't rare. In fact, it's one of the most common silent struggles men face after 50. Energy dips, motivation fades, sleep grows shallow, and that morning vitality, the one that once felt like a badge of life, begins to disappear. But here's the secret few people ever explain. It's not just about testosterone. It's not even just about age. It's about blood flow, cellular communication, and one overlooked chemical that connects everything: nitric oxide, the hidden science behind the cleanlit S. Simplify what's really happening inside the body. Imagine your blood vessels as flexible highways, smooth, elastic, alive. Through them flows the current of your life. Oxygen, nutrients, hormones. When you were young, those highways were wide open, traffic flowing freely. But as the years pass, something subtle happens. The walls of those vessels start to stiffen. The inner lining becomes less responsive. That lining is called the endothelium, and it's supposed to release nitric oxide, the molecule that tells your vessels to relax, widen, and deliver blood where it's needed. When nitric oxide levels fall, circulation weakens, not just to the heart or muscles, but everywhere, including the places that define a man's vitality. This isn't about failure or weakness. It's biology, and it's reversible, because here's what the research shows. Even in men over 60, the body can reignite nitric oxide production naturally. The machinery still exists, it's just been dormant, like an engine left too long in the garage. And the cause, not just time, but lifestyle. Late night screen light that tricks the brain into thinking it's daytime, sugar that inflames the blood vessels, stress hormones that choke circulation, and worst of all, poor sleep that shuts down the body's nighttime repair systems. A body that forgets. Think of it like this: your body is a city that runs on light and dark. During the day, it builds, moves, burns, fuel. At night, it cleans, heals, and But when you stay up late scrolling, watching, or worrying, you confuse the city's schedule. The janitors never show up. The repair crews never get the signal. Over time, the night shift, the one that restores nitric oxide and testosterone, stops clocking in, and slowly, you begin to feel the difference, not just in performance, but in mood, confidence, even memory, because men's vitality isn't just physical, it's psychological. When you wake up energized, your mind feels sharper, your posture straightens, your presence deepens. But when that spark fades, self-doubt creeps in, quiet but relentless. The moment of realization. It's 3 a.m. now. The man sits up, swings his legs over the edge of the bed. His feet touch the cold floor. He looks in the mirror across the room. The face staring back isn't weak. It's tired, not just from years, but from neglect. He whispers to himself, I used to feel alive. And in that whisper, something shifts. Because beneath all the frustration and confusion, there's still hope. The body never truly forgets how to heal. It just needs the right signal, the right switch flipped at the right time. And that's the key. The truth most men never hear. That there is something you can do tonight, something simple, backed by science, that begins to turn everything back on. But before we get there, you have to understand what was turned off and why, because when you finally see how it happened, you'll understand how to reverse it. The seed of hope, he lies back down, eyes wide open, but this time, not in despair. Somewhere deep in his mind, curiosity sparks. He remembers stories of old boxers, soldiers, and farmers who stayed strong into their 70s. How did they do it? They didn't have supplements or fancy medicine. They just lived differently. And maybe, he thinks, that's the answer, not adding something new, but restoring what was lost, reclaiming a rhythm the modern world disrupted. Because the truth is, the male body was designed for vitality. It's not meant to decay at 50. It's meant to adapt, recover, and evolve. If you know how to speak its language, and that language begins not in the morning, not at the gym, but at night, right before bed. Fade out, the night deepens. The man finally closes his eyes. This time, sleep comes softer, not because his problems are solved, but because for the first time in a long time, he believes they can be dodged tomorrow. Something will change. Morning sunlight leaks through the blinds, painting soft lines across the man's face. The alarm hasn't gone off yet, but he's awake, not by rest, but by habit. He sits up slowly, rubbing his eyes. The same heaviness lingers, not exhaustion exactly, but a strange dullness, like his body's engine is idling, low on fuel. He moves to the kitchen, pours black coffee, and stares out the window. The street outside is alive. Joggers, delivery trucks, the hum of life beginning again. And in that quiet, a question stirs. When did I start feeling older? He doesn't mean in numbers. He means in the texture of his days, the sluggish mornings, the short temper, the hollow chest where energy used to live. As the coffee warms his hands, he remembers something his father once said. Your body's like a machine. You don't lose power because you get old. You lose power because you forget where the switch is. At the time, he laughed it off. Now, decades later, it echoes in his mind. The switch? Could it really be that simple? A story from before the screens. Before we get to the science, let's rewind time, back to a world without smartphones, constant emails, or blue light. Back to when men rose with the sun and slept when it set. In those days, life had rhythm, not perfect, but human. Meals came from the ground, not from boxers. Work was physical, not digital. Stress came and went with the day. It didn't follow you home in your pocket. Men slept deeper, they dreamed longer, and when they woke up ready. That readiness wasn't just about hormones, it was about biology in harmony. The body's natural clock working in perfect time, because inside every man lives a hidden rhythm, a 24-hour symphony of chemicals, signals, and electrical impulses that rise and fall like tides. And when those tides move correctly, vitality flourishes. When they don't, life feels flat. This rhythm is controlled by 1,000 small switches, most of them invisible, but one in particular controls how a man feels in the morning, and that's the nighttime nitric oxide cycle. The science of the forgotten switch. Let's simplify. Every night, while you sleep, your blood vessels are supposed to relax, expand, and repair. This happens because your cells produce nitric oxide, a gas that tells your arteries to open up, to let life flow freely again. Nitric oxide is like the whisper between your brain and your body, saying, it's safe to rest, heal now, rebuild. But in today's world, that whisper is drowned out. Screens keep your eyes glowing long after sunset. Caffeine keeps your heart alert when it should be slow. And stress, the silent killer, keeps your blood vessels clenched like fists. Over time, your body stops hearing the signal. Nitric oxide levels plummet, and without that signal, the blood doesn't flow like it used to, not to the heart, not to the brain, not to the places that matter most. The result, the very thing that once defined your vitality, the morning surge of life, of energy, of masculinity, starts to fade. Not because your body is broken, but because the switch that controlled it has been turned off. Analogy. The river valve. Imagine a great river that once powered a city. Every night, engineers would open the dam, letting water flow through the turbines, lighting up the whole town. But one day, someone forgot. The dam stayed shut. The turbines slowed. The lights dimmed. Weeks passed. The town didn't die. It just adapted to the darkness. People used candles, worked slower, slept longer, until one day, an old engineer climbed the stairs, turned the valve again, and water thundered through the pipes. The city glowed like it was young again. Bafta Bafi. The valve is nitric oxide, and the city, your mind, your energy, Your masculinity is waiting for it to flow again. Why sleep is the key now. Here's the part most men never learn. Your nitric oxide system is repaired while you sleep. That means if your sleep is poor, you're not just tired, you're chemically depleted. When your eyes see blue light from a phone or TV after dark, your brain delays melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it's night. Without melatonin, your arteries don't open. Without open arteries, nitric oxide can't circulate. And without nitric oxide, testosterone stays trapped, unused, unactivated. So it's not age that robs your vitality. It's the disruption of rhythm. You're fighting against your own biology, staying awake when your body is begging to heal. You're trying to start the day strong, when you never truly ended the last one. The psychology of decline here's where it becomes emotional. When a man's body loses rhythm, his mind follows. You start waking up not just physically weaker, but spiritually duller. You stop expecting energy. You stop trusting yourself. That expectation itself, that quiet loss of belief, is one of the heaviest weights a man can carry. But the truth is, nothing is gone forever, because the body remembers. Every cell still knows how to produce nitric oxide. It just needs the signal again, the nightly cue that says, it's time to heal. A flash of memory that evening, our man sits outside as the sun goes down. It's been years since he just watched a sunset. The air is warm, crickets start to hum, and for a brief moment, everything slows. He feels something shift. Almost like his body recognizes this natural rhythm again. The fading light tells his eyes, it's night. His brain releases melatonin, his heart rate dips, his blood vessels begin to soften, and deep inside, his cells start to whisper again, the faint spark of nitric oxide waking up. He doesn't know the science, but he feels the peace. The kind of peace that only comes when your body and nature are speaking the same language again. The lesson hidden in simplicity. We live in a world that worships complexity pills, devices, endless hacks, but sometimes the most powerful switch is simple. Turn off the lights, breathe deeply, and let darkness do its job, because every night your body begs for stillness, not to punish you, but to repair you. And if you let it, it will begin rebuilding that lost rhythm automatically. That's what this series of nights will do, not by adding anything new, but by restoring what time and technology quietly stole. The awakenings the man prepares for bed that night. He decides to do one small thing differently. No screens, no noise, just darkness. He lies down, feels the cool sheets, listens to his heartbeat slow. He doesn't expect miracles, only sleep. But inside, something ancient begins to hum again. A tiny molecule starts to flow, where it hasn't flowed freely in years. And for the first time in a long time, his body feels like it's remembering something important. The switch, that silent, forgotten one, is flickering back on. The house is quiet again, but tonight, something is different. The man stands in his bedroom doorway, looking around as if seeing it for the first time. The hum of electronics off, the blue glow of the TV gone. Only a small bedside lamp remains, its light soft, golden, almost sacred. He takes a deep breath, deeper than he has in years. The air feels thicker, slower, more alive. For the first time, his night feels intentional. He isn't chasing sleep anymore. He's preparing for healing. The forgotten art of preparation. Every great change begins with a small ritual. It's how soldiers ready for battle, how monks enter prayer, how athletes approach the field. And yet, most men forget that rest itself is a ritual, one that shapes the body's chemistry as surely as any workout. When you fall asleep angry, scrolling, or distracted, your nervous system stays lit like a city at midnight, buzzing, tense, chaotic. Your heart pumps too fast, your vessels stay tight, and your cells, waiting for the night signal to begin repairs, never get the message. But if you prepare even for 5 minutes, everything changes. You become the conductor again, not the audience. So tonight, he decides to follow instinct, to create a small, private ceremony that belongs only to him. Scene. The night ritual begins. He fills a glass of water, places it beside the bed, not cold, not hot, room temperature, clean, still. He turns off the lamp and lights a small candle. The flame flickers softly, its reflection dancing on the wall. He sits on the edge of the bed, exhales through his nose, and lets the air fall out through his mouth, slow, deliberate. Once, twice, 3 times. His mind begins to quiet in that silence. He places a hand over his chest and whispers something almost forgotten. Thank you. not to anyone else, just to the body that's carried him through storms, work, loss, and years of ignoring its needs. This gratitude is the beginning of healing, because when you shift from frustration to respect, your nervous system switches from fight to repair. Cortisol lowers, blood vessels open, nitric oxide production rises, all from one quiet moment of peace. The simple science of restoration inside his body. Something incredible is happening. His heart slows, his blood pressure dips, the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and rebuild mode, begins to take control. This shift is what every man unknowingly craves at night, because only in this state can the body produce the nitric oxide that restores blood flow, strengthens vessels, and signals the testes to release fresh testosterone into the bloodstream. It's a chain reaction, and the ritual is the key that starts it. Imagine this like tending to an old engine. For years, it's been running hard. No oil, no maintenance, just grind. But tonight, the man isn't revving it anymore. He's listening to it, letting it cool, letting it breathe. That's what the night ritual does. It doesn't force change. It invites it. Step by step, the cinematic flow, he lies down slowly, feeling the mattress beneath him as though it's an old friend. He takes one final deep breath, in through the nose. 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 6. It's called coherent breathing, and it's one of the most powerful nitric oxide activators the body has. Why? Because the sinuses, especially when you breathe through the nose, naturally release nitric oxide gas into the bloodstream. Each breath is a whisper of life flowing back into the system. The man doesn't know that. He doesn't need to. He just feels calm, more at peace than he's been in months. He closes his eyes. The candle flickers once, twice, then goes out. Darkness fills the room, but it doesn't feel empty. It feels alive. Inside the healing process now, the night takes over. Inside his body, nitric oxide levels rise. Blood vessels widen, carrying oxygen deeper into muscles, organs, even the smallest capillaries. His brain begins clearing waste proteins through the lymphatic system. The night's internal cleaning crew. Testosterone starts to surge gently, responding to the signal of deep rest. Even his heart benefits, beating slower, stronger, with each passing minute. Science might call this parasympathetic activation, but to the man lying there, it feels like something simpler: peace. That's what this ritual really does. It replaces chaos with rhythm, and rhythm is the foundation of every kind of strength. The emotional connection. Hours pass. Dreams drift in vivid, gentle, real. He dreams of being young again, not in body, but in spirit. He dreams of running through tall grass, of feeling light, of laughing without effort. When he wakes, the world outside is still gray-blue with early light. He stretches, and for a moment, he notices it. That familiar morning surge of warmth, of life, of presence. It's faint, but it's there. He doesn't jump or celebrate. He just smiles, small, quiet, grateful, because he knows what this means. The body remembers. The forgotten switch is no longer forgotten. And the ritual, his nightly promise to himself, works. Building the habit that night, he repeats it. The next night, again. By the third night, he finds himself looking forward to it. The silence, the candle, the calm, that it becomes his time, not for performance, not for anyone else, but for himself. And something miraculous happens. As his nights deepen, his days brighten. He wakes more alert, his mind sharper, his patience steadier. Conversations feel lighter, work feels easier. Even laughter returns, real laughter, not the forced kind that fills empty rooms. Because when a man begins healing his nights, his days follow. The metaphor of fire. One evening, as he blows out the candle, he watches the thin trail of smoke curl upward. It reminds him of something he once read, that a man's vitality is like fire. If ignored, it doesn't die. It hides, smoldering quietly beneath the ash, waiting for breath. And when you finally give it air, stillness, sleep, care, it bursts alive again. That's what the night ritual does. It doesn't create the fire. It uncovers it, the science behind the symbol. Each night he follows this rhythm. His nitric oxide levels build up like a slow tide. His blood vessels regain elasticity. Circulation improves. Even his mitochondria, the engines inside his cells, start to burn cleaner fuel, producing more energy during the day. This is what true anti-aging looks like. Not creams or injections, but a biological symphony returning to harmony. And it all starts from the smallest habit, turning the night into sacred space. Closing scene. The camera fades to morning light. The man stands by the window again, but this time, he feels taller. His shoulders are pulled back, his breathing slow and confident. He isn't 25 again, but he doesn't need to be. He's awake, in body, mind, and soul. He pours his coffee, not out of habit, but out of joy. He looks at the rising sun and smiles because now he knows the truth. The journey to strength didn't end with age, it simply paused, waiting for him to remember the ritual that reignites it. The dawn is soft, almost silver. A thin beam of light filters through the curtains, landing across his face. He stirs, eyes fluttering open, the slow awareness of morning washing over him. But this time, something feels different. The stillness isn't heavy anymore, it's calm. His body feels lighter, his breath fuller, and deep inside, that quiet signal, the one he'd thought was gone forever, hums alive again. He sits up, stretches, and smiles. Not a forced smile, but one born from a deep sense of rightness, as though every cell has finally remembered what it was made to do. He walks to the window. The sun is climbing the horizon, steady, patient, unstoppable. Outside, the world wakes with him. Birds chatter, a breeze stirs the leaves, and for the first time in years, he feels in sync, body, breath, and world moving together. The symbolism of the morning used to be routine, coffee, shower, rush. Now, it feels like a quiet ceremony. He realizes something simple yet profound. The strength of a man isn't proven in noise or motion, it's proven in presence. Every sunrise is proof that no darkness lasts forever. Every breath is proof that life renews itself. And every act of care, no matter how small, is proof that healing begins from within. He remembers the nights spent restless, angry, searching, the frustration of loss, the shame of silence. But now, he sees them differently. They weren't punishment. They were calling cards, invitations to return to himself. From function to freedom at first, he only wanted one thing, to feel normal again, to wake up strong, to feel like a man. But what he found went deeper than function. Because when the body heals, the mind follows. And when the mind quiets, the spirit rises. His mornings now aren't about chasing performance. They're about connection to his breath, to his body, to the quiet power that never really left. It just fell asleep, waiting for him to return. The science of consistency inside his body. The transformation is measurable. His nitric oxide system, once dormant, now thrives. Each night's rest compounds the effect. Blood flow improves, arteries stay elastic, and testosterone finds balance naturally. He feels it not just in mornings, but all day. Energy steady, mood balanced, focus clear. Even his face looks different. More color, softer lines, eyes sharper. Because when the inner chemistry changes, the outer world follows. That's what most people miss. Vitality isn't something you take, it's something you create, by consistency, by rhythm, by faith in small habits repeated every night. The emotional reckoning. One afternoon, he visits his father's old workshop. Dust floats in the golden light. Tools hang untouched. He remembers that old saying again, you don't lose power because you get old. You lose power because you forget where the switch is. He runs his hand over the worn wood of the workbench and smiles. I found it, Dad, he whispers. In that moment, tears come, not of sadness, but of release, because he realizes what this journey was always about. Not just the body, not even just health. It was about forgiveness, forgiving himself for the years he spent disconnected, distracted, and doubting. He had punished himself for decline, never realizing it wasn't his fault. The world had changed. Rhythms had been broken, but the design of life had never failed him. He'd simply forgotten the language of his own biology. And now, he spoke it again fluently. A new identity. Over the next few weeks, his ritual evolves. Sometimes he adds a slow walk after sunset. Sometimes a stretch, or gratitude journaling before bed. It's not strict, it's soulful. And the more he does it, the more he realizes, he's not just maintaining health. He's living differently. Grounded, focused, present. People notice. His co-workers mention his energy. His wife notices his patience and the spark in his eyes. Even his sleep feels like meditation. Deep, unbroken, alive. Because he no longer measures vitality by what his body does, but by how fully he feels. The psychology of rebirthaging no longer feels like decline. It feels like refinement, like the sharpening of something timeless. He learns that masculinity isn't about dominance or youth. It's about direction. It's the ability to lead yourself out of darkness, one honest night at a time. And that's the real power of this ritual. It doesn't promise eternal youth. It offers something better, eternal renewal, because as long as you breathe, your body can heal. As long as you rest, your cells can rebuild. And as long as you believe, the spark will never die. Final scene. The man in the mirror. One evening. Months later, he stands before the mirror again. The same one that once reflected fatigue and doubt. But tonight, the reflection stares back with quiet pride. He studies his face. Lines still there, but they look earned now. His eyes are brighter, his posture strong, and behind the gaze, a calm, steady confidence hums. He whispers, "I remember who I am. Not the young man he used to be, but the whole man he's become." He blows out the candle, the same one he lights every night. Smoke drifts upward, fading into the dark, and as the room settles into silence, a single truth remains. He isn't chasing vitality anymore. He embodies it. The closing message to every man listening. This story isn't fiction. It's a mirror. Maybe you, too, have felt that silent decline, the long nights, the quiet frustration, the fading spark. But remember this, you are not broken. You are dormant. And the switch that controls your strength, your passion, your confidence, it's still there, waiting for you to turn it back on. Do this tonight. Turn off the noise. Light the candle. Breathe through your nose. Rest with purpose. Let your body remember the rhythm it was born with. Because when you heal the night, you awaken the man you've always been. And tomorrow, when the sun rises, you won't just wake up. You'll rise.